What is going on, everybody? Talking draft prospects for the Dallas Cowboys today. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it. Cowboys are projected to be probably a top five pick going into this draft. As of right now, where we're at in the season, let's jump right into this Dallas Cowboys prospect. Dylan, we are talking about Patrick Surtain. He is a 6'2", 200-pound corner out of Alabama. He was a five-star recruit out of American Heritage High School. Basically recruited for his rare size and speed out of high school. He won a state title in track as a sophomore. He's a football two-time state champion, a one-time All-American, Army All-American, and a two-time USA Today All-American. His dad was a former three-time Pro Bowler and first-team All-Pro. His dad played 11 years in the NFL, mainly known for his career with the Dolphins. Patrick Surtain Sr. was a Dolphin for 11 years. Dylan, do you think that the Surtain family could be the next NFL family moving into the NFL? And what I mean by that is, could he be the next Watt brothers? Could he be the next Joey Bosa's going to the draft?
I think he absolutely could, and the athleticism alone is a good reason why. And having the experience of your dad, the professionalism that comes with that, the guy who's experienced, the guy who's been able to teach him ever since he was a young kid, how to handle himself, how to prepare, all those type of things. He's going into the NFL ready, mentally, understands, what's going on, understands how to prepare. Coming from Alabama too, Nick Saban's his coach. I mean, this guy is ready for the league, absolutely.
Yeah, they actually talk about in a lot of his prospect videos and scouting reports that he's had one of the best mentors ever to teach him how to play the game in more or less college and at the NFL level. One thing, if you look at moving into his college career, is he was the second true freshman at Alabama since Mika Fitzpatrick to start for Alabama. Um, and pretty much he's produced for 3 years for Alabama, which is actually pretty nuts because most people do not start as a true freshman going into Alabama. They kind of sit for a couple years and then produce for one or two, and then go to the NFL most of the time.
Sure.
He's a lot of people kind of talk about him as a star corner going into the draft. People have also talked about him moving to safety. I don't really think he's big enough to be a safety. Size-wise, 6'2" is big enough, but weight-wise, I don't really know if he's got that downhill mentality. He's got that corner mentality. So one thing I kind of wanted to ask you is, do you think that drafting a corner that high in the draft, as of right now, we are the number 5 pick, I personally think it's a kind of high risk, but we've shown that if you draft the next Jalen Ramsey, it's going to be very worth. So, do you think it's worth drafting a corner this high in the draft?
Yeah, and you just answered it right there. If the Jalen Ramsey, if you hit that guy, absolutely, it transforms your whole defense. Your pass rush is better. Your run stopping's better. You can commit more guys to the line of scrimmage. It drastically improves your whole defense. So absolutely is the risk worth it? I think this guy, he looks like a safe pick. Is his bust potential there? Like, I don't think so. This guy's a really good athlete. He's really
Yeah.
tall. If nothing else, he will be successful in some capacity.
Yeah.
He'll be able to turn and run with somebody. Even if he just is put him on the biggest guy the other team has, because he's got the range and the size to be able to do that. And then the ceiling's there, right? If you hit on the Jalen Ramsey, man, the Cowboys are going to have a special defense next year.
Yeah, and I agree. As going in, looking at his scouting reports, and you can kind of look at some of his play here. He's great in man-to-man coverage. He always looks calm. He always looks ready. He's he's not really a press guy. He doesn't like really get in receivers' face off the line. He's usually like 1, 2, 3 yards off the ball. And they kind of talk about how he likes to mirror receivers and when they make their break, and then he'll finally flip his hips and run. And what helps him is he is extremely long. His arms are extremely long. He's not super super fast. I'm interested to see what his 40 time is coming out of the draft, or I'm sorry, out of the combine. But the guy looks extremely lengthy, and he breaks up a lot of passes for Alabama. Anytime people go that way, he is usually got his head around looking for the ball, which is fantastic to see coming out of college. And he knocks balls out of receivers' hands. Hey guys, if you watched the video this long, like, subscribe down below. We appreciate you guys. Jumping right back into it. Kind of what I wanted to talk about is, do you think that they talk about some of the concerns going about Patrick Surtain moving up, and it is basically his straight line speed. So that kind of concerns me, especially going to the draft where people are really prioritizing speed. Do you think that's going to be an issue for him moving into the NFL draft? Or do you think people are smart enough to be like, hey, you know what? This guy is not a super hardcore press man coverage. Are we just going to play them kind of off the line and, just let him do what he does? Because,
And I'm curious to see too, kind of where he grades out in the combine.
yeah.
Because if he is a 4.5 runner, he's got to be special in man coverage in order to be a first round draft pick, just in general. Not just specific to this guy. If he's not a 4.3 runner, man, I don't know how somebody spends a top 5 pick on him, because then you start getting into the whole, who are some wide receivers in that division? Terry McLaurin. He's not running with Terry McLaurin across the field.
Not at all.
He's not running with Darius Slayton across the field. So then you're finding yourself a top 5 draft pick who's a matchup problem.
Yep.
And you're having to kind of scheme away. How do you double team this guy, and then we can put Surtain on the number 2. And so that when you get into that kind of stuff, he's not worth a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
If he is a 4 or 5 runner.
And I think as talking about like a Dallas Cowboys prospect, I don't necessarily know if he'll have a lot of that issue. I think the Cowboys run more zone than anything. We mix it up. It's the NFL, but I think we run a lot of zone more than anything, so I think he'll be fine. But they actually talk about how he struggles in zone. He's not as instinctive when he's running through his zones. He's not very aggressive running through his zones, so he's a pass breakup guy. He's not a hunt for the ball kind of corner, which is kind of one thing that I'm seeing out of a lot of his film. I think that people talk about him being physical in coverage. I don't necessarily think he's super physical through routes. In man-to-man coverage, he's very physical, and I think that's going to cost us sometimes, which is fine. I mean, playing corner is a physical game. It's about who can get away with the most, more or less. Do you agree there?
Absolutely, yeah. There's hand fighting all the time.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of, he's physical in man-to-man coverage, but when he's kind of in his zone, he's really, really trying to just play his zone. And anything that comes into that zone, he's going to go away from it. But he's not very instinctive in his zone. He's very, more or less, well coached, and he just kind of just backs out and sits there. So I'm interested to see what the Cowboys do with this pick.
Let me ask you real quick. If he's a zone liability, y'all always kind of had that bend but don't break style on defense.
Yeah.
Is he worth a top 5 pick?
I think he is, simply for the fact of the athleticism. So I think if he does come out and has a combine grade, that is great. Not really a combine grade, but more or less a 40 time, because as of right now, it looks like a lot of people are concerned about his straight line speed more than anything. He does a fantastic job of sticking with receivers, but I did watch a couple of his plays where he more or less got burned. The receiver would run by him in a straight line, and he would get stacked by the receiver. But he is so long, and he could he would stay with corners, and most of the plays were like very underthrown. They weren't accurate balls. So the receiver would, which is a common occurrence, receivers having to turn around and jump for the ball. And Surtain is just so lengthy. He just kind of sticks his hand up in the middle of their hands and just knocks the ball out. So he's got a couple highlights like that. I don't really consider that more or less like a super crazy highlight for him. But as a draft prospect for the Cowboys, you want a guy that looks for the ball, but when he gets beat, you can tell he's usually like a step behind in that straight line. But if you watch him run like drag routes or crossing routes, He will just pretty much just backpedal until that receiver breaks out of their route, and he'll just turn and run with them. And he does a fantastic job staying in their hip pocket. More or less is what coaches teach is try to stay in that hip pocket and just make sure that hand's within reach distance. And he has got the lengthiness. I'm interested to see kind of like his wingspan because he looks really really long.
Yeah, long. He's very muscular too, a very defined human.
Yeah, I'm sure you can see that right here.
Unique body type for sure. A guy that even when he stepped on the field as a freshman, I mean, he looked the part. And I think there's a lot being that could be said for that. The composure, the maturity that he has, all that being able to step in at Alabama and play at the high level that he did, just against the competition that he played against. So big things going forward. The NFL is not going to be too big for him for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, Justin, right now the Cowboys have the 5th overall pick. The Chargers are in front, and the Bengals are in front of them. So assuming the Bengals take a left tackle, assuming the Chargers kind of go best player available, maybe they need some help on defense, are you afraid that they take Patrick Surtain in front of you, or maybe even trade back, somebody else trade up and get him? Are you afraid that Patrick Surtain won't be there when y'all pick?
Absolutely. As of right now, we are going into Week 15, and we are playing the really struggling 49ers. I'm actually really concerned that we're going to win next week. And I know, guys, as you're a Cowboy fan, we're going to win. Oh, my God. I don't want to win right now. We are not a playoff team. We're not playoff ready. This defense is definitely struggling. Aldon Smith said it. We suck right now. As of this point in the season, he said it. We suck right now. He's not wrong. So I think for Patrick Surtain, unless for some reason we get lucky again and like a CeeDee Lamb, he just kind of falls into our pocket, I think I'm a little nervous about the Chargers drafting Surtain. If we win next week, honestly, we can lose the rest of the season. If we win next week, I truly think drafting a top 5 or 10 draft pick like Surtain is definitely at risk if we win next week against the 49ers. So
Sure.
I think the Chargers are definitely interested in him. I can't see why a team wouldn't be interested in him simply for the fact he is a 6'2", 200-pound corner. Based on size alone, which is rare, more or less, especially at the corner position, if he can run in the combine, this guy is going to be insane. Even if he's just let's talk kind of jump into comparisons here. A lot of people compare him to Byron Jones.
Mm.
Simply because Byron Jones was nothing flashy. He was very lengthy. He just kind of had the explosiveness to stay with receivers and knock down balls. He was a great coverage corner. I think Patrick Surtain is better than Byron in the fact of is he usually has his head around to look for the ball, and he does have a lot more picks out of college going into the draft. He's also produced at a high level playing for a high level coach of Nick Saban at Alabama for a long time. So I'm a little worried about that. But,
Sure.
I mean, it's the NFL draft. You never know what could happen.
Regardless, the Cowboys are going to get a phenomenal football player, whoever it is.
Top 10. I can guarantee you we'll be top 10. Almost top 10.
Ooh.
Unless
Okay.
we win out. Unless we win out, which I don't think is going to happen.
Sure.
Well, guys, let me know what you think. Do you guys think Patrick Surtain is the definite prospect and would be a fantastic fit for the Dallas Cowboys? Guys, thank y'all for watching. We plan to drop a couple more. By the way, this is my number 1 pick for the Cowboys. A lot of people want Penny Sewell. This is my number 1 pick for the Cowboys right now. We'll kind of be going down the list. I'm going to talk about more or less. I'm trying to cover at least 5 prospects coming out of the season who I think the Cowboys should draft. But stay tuned for that, guys. We appreciate you watching. Thank y'all.